Hey everybody, this is Christina, the AmputeeOT. Do you know what this is for and why you should have one? This is a small Allen wrench that you use to tighten the foot or adjust the foot on your prosthetic leg. If you look at a prosthesis, you'll notice that it's pretty much in a straight line up and down this way. And it's also in a straight line up and down this way, if it's adjusted properly. Barring somebody having flexion contractures or interesting anatomy or other reasons, typically this is the way a prosthesis is going to be set up. Now you might be wondering, how does a prosthetist get a prosthetic leg set up properly so that it's straight up and down? The way they do that is by adjusting these 4 screws that are on the bottom of the socket or on the top of the foot. These screws are not just used to secure the foot to the socket, they're also used to adjust the angle of the socket and the angle of the foot. That is, the dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, inversion, and eversion of the foot with respect to the socket. The 4 screws that you see there are called set screws, and you adjust them using an Allen wrench like this one. Here's what it looks like on the inside. You can see the 4 set screws in there. And on the bottom of the socket is what's called a pyramid. Now watch carefully what happens if I adjust the set screws on this prosthetic leg. When I turn this screw in, you dorsiflex the foot. That is, close the angle between the socket and the foot, like if you were to pick your foot up from the ground. And if I screw in this set screw back here, the socket moves this way, or you plantar flex the foot. And if I screw this one, the socket will move this way, and if I screw this one, the socket will move this way. So that's inversion and eversion. It's very useful to know how to adjust your prosthetic foot because A, sometimes the set screws come loose and it's good to know how to tighten them, and B, it's nice because if you want to change shoes, and your shoes are of a slightly different heel height, then you can adjust your prosthesis to make it work for you instead of having it be misaligned, which is what would happen if I changed shoes that were a different heel height. So for example, if I want to have shoes that have a heel like this, then I would adjust this backwards using this screw to plantar flex it more to make this come back into alignment with respect to the line that is drawn right here. One thing that you definitely want to do is always put Loctite on these set screws, and I mean the non-permanent Loctite. What that will do is keep your set screws from coming loose, but allow you to loosen them if you need to. That's really important. It's also a really good idea if you've never adjusted your prosthetic before to either take a picture of the arrangement of the set screws or write them down so that you know if you mess everything up and can't get your socket the way you want it after adjusting it, you can always go back to it exactly the way it was before if you take pictures and just replicate exactly what your socket was already set up to be. So say you want to set up this prosthetic leg to be specific to an activity. For me, I can use aerial silks or tumbling, which is a class that I take in which we don't wear shoes. So I would take the shoe off. This doesn't quite feel right when I don't wear a shoe. It feels right when I'm wearing shoes and feels wrong when I'm not wearing a shoe. And the reason for that is the heel height difference. This shoe has about a 3/8 of an inch heel, and if I use it without a shoe, then there's a 3/8 of an inch difference. So now, instead of being straight up and down, my socket is tilted a little bit backward. And so what I want to do to adjust it is bring it a little bit forward to bring it back in alignment. So I'll do that. All right, get straight, leg. There we go. There we go. Don't forget your Loctite, which I forgot. So now my prosthetic leg is aligned properly for walking barefoot. If I want to go back to wearing my shoe, I'll adjust this, put my shoe back on. Your prosthesis is probably almost the most important thing that you own, and it would be really, really uncool if you couldn't wear it because you adjusted it wrong because you watched my video. So definitely make sure you're pretty confident that you know what you're doing before you do it, or at least make sure to take pictures of the way that your prosthesis is already set up, so that if you do get it adjusted and it doesn't quite work right, you can set it back to the way it was. But I honestly feel like most people could probably adjust their own prosthesis if they really needed to, and having that knowledge is especially helpful if, for example, your prosthetist lives 2 hours away or can only see you a week from Saturday and you need your leg adjusted now. It's only 4 set screws, and so it's not super complicated, but if you have trouble, for example, figuring out which direction to turn your screwdriver on a pretty regular basis, or you maybe aren't even aware until right now that screws have directions, then you might want to save it for the professionals. Okay everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments section below. You can subscribe if you like. I put out new videos every Wednesday. You can follow me on Facebook. That's facebook.com/AmputeeOT. And see you next time. Happy adjusting. Bye!